Hi, I'm Justin Caffrey. It's been a while since I've recorded something long form on YouTube. But I wanted to talk about the vagus nerve and also about the body's energy, the qi, and in particular, experiences that I've learned in 2024 that I think could be of great benefit to hopefully you, but people, especially with fatigue, long COVID, anxiety, PTSD, where we have unresolved emotions in the body. This video today is really speaking to that. And I'm doing that at the moment because I'm skiing, and I'm doing this at the moment because I'm skiing, and I've broken my wrist. So I broke my wrist 2 days ago, and what's interesting is it's the left side of my body. I want to talk about energies in general, how important it is for our vagus nerve, our general well-being. But one thing that I notice a lot when I work with people is the level and consistency that people tend to have when there's low energy, and then they have issues in their kidneys, in their spleen, in their gut. And for thousands of years, from a traditional Chinese medicine perspective, the kidneys have always been seen as a really important originator of energy. So when you look at traditional Chinese medicine, they talk about the yin and the yang, the two different forms of energy that need to be in balance. And when they come out of balance, then there becomes a weakness. And I've had an out of balance weakness on the left side of my body for most of 2024. And for me, if I look at my astrological charts from a Chinese perspective, I'm born in 1975, and the day and the month that I'm born shows that there is a predisposed weakness to dampness, as the Chinese refer to it. Now, if you speak to a Chinese practitioner and you ask them about dampness, what they'll say is, it's like dampness is in the body, but it's also in the wall. And then I say, okay, like mold. Yes, like mold. And this led me down an interesting path in the last couple of years. So if you follow my content, you'll know that I was working with a functional physician, Western trained physician, and we were kind of working through the last kind of vestiges of autoimmune disease, which I've had in my body for the best part of 10 to 12 years. Yeah, 12 years, maybe 13 years. And principally this autoimmune disease came from a period of time where my second son Joshua, died. And as a father, not unusual for a man, my grief was not honest and truthful to him. I found other ways to submerge myself into the grief. And for me, that was a predisposition to work. And I was also managing my anxiety, my depression, my PTSD with alcohol. And the culmination of all these things means that you go through this trajectory of a declining health. And my trajectory meant that I was kind of like stacking autoimmune diseases as I was going. Maintaining this strong front as this alpha male that, yes, my son has died, but I'm okay, strong, I'll push through, and I will show others how to do this. And I almost wore it like as a badge of honor that, even in the death of a child, you can move through. But internally, I needed to get close to my grief. And as Marcus Aurelius famously says, the obstacle is the way. The grief, the loss, the pain, the suffering, you have to go there. So I was really ill in 2012. Extremely ill, like multiple autoimmune disease, developed adult asthma, chronic sinus issues, mucus all the time, incredible fatigue. Like I kept working, I kept flying on planes, but I had such little energy. I could just about function. Now, interestingly, in 2024, when I was ill again, it was 12 years. And 12 years in traditional Chinese medicine is very significant. So they believe that in a 12-year cycle, the same illness will come back. But this time, It wants to know, what are you learning? What do you know? Now, I could, of course, make this YouTube video and say, don't worry, I had it sussed. I was on it straight away and everything was good. But no, I've spent years focusing on how I build a strong autoimmune response, how I build a strong 10th cranial nerve, the vagus nerve, how I build the right body, the workouts, the right food, the right diet. I haven't drank alcohol in 8 years. Blah, 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 blah. I built it all. It's all in good shape. But life is constantly throwing us curveballs. And in 2024, I got a curveball. So my second son, who's in his second last year of high school in Ireland, got offered a football scholarship to go to the US. So he's going to go he is now in school in Pennsylvania. And what I failed to realize was that this was grief all over again. Now we don't expect our kids to move out till they're like 28. But you certainly don't expect your kid to move out when they've just, he had just literally passed 16 into 17. And when he went, there was a hole. But before he went, there was a hole. And when I look back at my diary and I write things that hit me emotionally, just so that I could lay breadcrumbs, and something I would really recommend to journal the emotional things, because when you're dealing with physical illness, and this is particularly important to long COVID, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but when you're looking for the root cause, you want to try and lay those breadcrumbs so that you can work your way back. And when I worked my way back, I was able to go right back to February, where the first thoughts of all of this thing started to materialize. And I was already writing at that stage about, I'm not too sure how I'm going to handle this, but I know it's really good for him, yada, yada, yada. And there was almost that battle between the alpha in me, which is strong and embedded, and it comes from childhood and work ethics, and I'm very tough on other people, tough on myself. But my recovery and my ability to deal with Joshua's death, and he died in 2011, and my ability to get up and speak about Joshua's death, and now speak to crowds of people talking about grief, but talking about the importance of connecting to our emotions to form the strength of leadership. People want authentic leaders. They want people who can actually say, I have done the hard work. I have walked across the coals. You can trust me. We want authenticity. But I did it all, but yet I failed to notice that this was going to be grief again, and it was going to come back again. And incredibly, it came back very similarly. So I started to get illness. So the first thing that happened by March, maybe even as early as February, I got a frozen shoulder, left side of the body. And then it got progressively worse and progressively worse. Then, by the summertime, I blew out my left knee. I had to get MRIs on it. I've had to be in physio, and there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in there that I won't bore you with. But now I've got left shoulder, left knee, still not really paying attention. The world was busy. I was busy. Lots going on. Luca was now on the way to the US at the end of the summer. And then come September, we come back from the States. We've dropped him off. And I develop really bad congestion. Left side of the body, left sinuses, really problematic in my lungs, left side. Not paying attention. And then I realized, okay, I need to wake the hell up here. And I went to a Western doctor because that's still how I think sometimes, stupidly. I'm not saying that Western doctors are wrong and they're fantastic for especially things when you break your arm. But I went and they were like, oh yeah, this is clearly a bacterial infection, antibiotics, get the antibiotics, does nothing, feel worse. More and more mucus, massive fatigue. And all of a sudden, I'm as ill and as fatigued as I was in 2012. I literally just have enough energy to function. I started to cancel client appointments because I won't show up to a client meeting with my clients who are all over the world if I'm not feeling like I can give them 100%. So now my work is starting to back up and that's stressing me out. But I'm getting ill. And then I remember, okay, I need to go and check in in a traditional Chinese medicine way. So I go to my guru, who is fantastic, great Chinese, and I say, okay, listen, I've missed the signals, but now I recognize there's a connection here. Everything's happening on the left side. And she says to me, okay, what else is going on emotionally? I say, well, Luke has gone away. I don't think I've grieved him properly. I'm going to submerge myself in it. But I think I've got some way to go. And we start on the path. She starts giving me the right herbs, which really are just focusing on the energy, but most importantly on the kidneys and the spleen. So then I go and run my bloods. My bloods come up, boom, kidneys are showing a problem. So the energy is low. Doing some acupuncture. And the thing about traditional Chinese medicine is it's not a quick fix. If you have a sore arm, hand, whatever, and you take ibuprofen or Advil or whatever your particular drug of painkiller is, it will work quite quickly. And then we think, oh, it's better, I'll just move on. But you haven't got to the source. It's why the pain? Why the frozen shoulder? Why the bust knee? Why the congested sinuses? Why the lungs? Why the congestion? Why the fatigue? So we start working on the kidneys. I go back for regular acupuncture. And over the course of the next few weeks, I started to feel the vibrancy coming back in. I started to really journal my feelings about Luca going, and it brought a lot of tears. I was a lot of tears, a lot of upset. I was communicating with him, just telling him how much I loved him, and speaking to my wife, and just really explaining how I felt about it all. And then we're in a session, and Grace said to me, when did Joshua die? And I said, 2011. And she said, when were you really ill last time? And I said, 2012. And she said, it's 12 years. I said, yeah, I knew 12 years is significant. What do you think? And she went, it's the same illness and it's for the same reason. You're not grieving Luca leaving. And now, your kid is gone out of your life. Not only is he gone to university and you're empty nesters, but he's gone to a different continent. He's in a different time zone. And he's going to go and spend 2 years doing high school in the US and then go to college in the US. So then he's gone for 6 years. So hey, let's lay down the chips that it's most likely he meets a nice young lady in the States and boom, he ain't coming back. So I really got into the journaling of my emotions. I really kind of let it come out. And it comes out it's like taking poison out of the system. And then I also did some Qigong breathing techniques, which I'll share on YouTube. And they're really energy focused. So you can literally focus on the energy. And especially the kidneys and the spleen are places where we tend to hold fear and anxiety. And the simple breathing techniques that you do at the end of the day, and you visualize either of those organs directly, or you visualize the color, and you let the air out using specific sounds for them. Energy's going up, boom, boom, boom. And don't forget, I wear a Whoop. I also wear an Apple Watch. I track all my data because I track all my clients' data. And I see my heart rate variability recovering. I see my resting heart rate coming back down again. I see my sleep efficiency recovering. And getting ready. And up until the 23rd of December-ish, I'm thinking I can't even go skiing after Christmas. I have no energy. But then I think, okay, I'll push on, I'll go. So I go skiing. But I've only just started to recover, the 23rd, 24th was really just when I'm starting to recover. So I go skiing, I'm with friends, Luke is going too, he's come home, we're in Austria, and I'm excited, but alpha is always wanting to be strong, so I'm now pushing. Very weak body only a few weeks ago, but now I'm pushing it again. Back up the slopes, hitting the black runs, which are like black diamond runs in the States. I'm hitting the toughest of slopes. I'm not a great skier. I broke my arm snowboarding 7 years ago, this arm. So I also need to remember, don't push your luck. But it's literally the first day. I've had a phenomenal day. I've been skiing for hours. My body's tired. We're coming down the mountain. And I'm not exactly sure what happens, but I get hit. So somebody hits me. Apparently it was a couple of young guys in their late teens. Somebody hit me. Bang. I hit the ground, hit the snow, packed ice, and I break my wrist. I break one of my ribs and badly damaged my hip. Thankfully nothing's broken, and hit my head, unconscious. Wake up after, I don't know, a minute or two. So now I have to have surgery on here. But look, all on the left side. So when the energy is low, when the chi is low, the physical body also becomes weak. So again, I wasn't paying attention enough. I should have been thinking, yeah, the chi is low, the blood flow is low, which means the bones are not going to be as strong as I'd want them to be. And although I felt vibrant and strong in these last few days, because I was getting my energy back and I was focusing on all my practices and making sure I was eating the right foods and drinking the right waters, and especially if you're dealing with mucus and low energy, you want to avoid damp foods, so no dairy. But when you drink water, drink warm water. Because when the energy is really low, and especially for long haul COVID sufferers and long COVID as we call it in the West, or in Europe, sorry. When you are drinking, if you warm the water, it means the body doesn't have to waste energy heating water. So I've done a lot of work on getting everything right. So cold water goes in. You may notice if you drink cold water, you'll wee it out really quickly, because the body literally thinks, too much hard work here to try and get this to body temperature so that we can make use of it. So it's better off just to kick it out. So just boil your water or heat your water. Get it to a warm temperature. So, it doesn't need to be boiling hot, but drink lots of teas. But if you're drinking just ordinary water, get yourself a flask. I use one that's retains the heat, so that you avoid it. Avoid cold foods in general when you're in recovery. Same thing. Don't have the body doing extra work. Avoid damp inducing foods. Google it. You'll find all the information of foods not to eat. So avoid damp foods. That's especially dairy, but also hard foods on the body. So beef, pork. In the predominance, I'd move more to vegetables. I was having some chickens, but also broths. So chicken broths, bone broths, really, really good for you. And you build and nourish. So this happens because I get too alpha about skiing and I get too competitive. I break it. But now it's here. It's put me in this hotel room. The rest of the guys are out. And I think it's that reason I'm recording this video. I think it's put me here to record the video. And I was writing a book, and I've spent much of this year writing a book, which is my story and the tools that I use for recovery. But I need to speak to YouTube. It's been a long time. And I want to help people understand that when you're going through recovery, it is a slow process. And meditation is critical. Think about me, the alpha on the ski slopes. As soon as I'm better, I push on. I have to remember, I'm usually quite good at pause, slow down. But we're with a group of people, my son is home, I'm excited, it's Christmas vacation. I break my arm. But the universe is always speaking to us. God is always speaking to us, which is how I feel about it, whichever makes you feel comfortable. But there's always a conversation going on, and the lucky ones are listening. And I needed to slow down, and that's what was telling me in 2024. Slow down, be more reflective, learn, understand. And so much of what I've learned to understand has been rich and allowed me to inform that into the upcoming book, which I can't wait to share with you guys. It's only going to go to the publishers at the end of this month, maybe a little bit more delayed because this is not really working as a typing hand. But if you're ill, if you have long COVID, if you're struggling with your emotional state, post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, depression, where are the breadcrumbs? What do you know about yourself? Can you bring yourself back to a moment in your life where you last felt really well? Who was around you? How are you eating? How are you drinking? How are you sleeping? What job did you have? What relationship were you in? What did breadcrumbs show you about where you are right now? And whenever I read about long COVID sufferers, and I was reading a report yesterday, the thing that always strikes me is that people have, in the predominance and in my experience, they were already pushing hard, doing 2 jobs, managing the kids, not enough sleep, push. And then they get ill. Now, COVID, okay, the vaccine and all that kind of stuff may or may not be a contributing factor to all of that. But also, a big thing is the breadcrumbs. What happened to you in the past? Where did all this come from? And let me say one thing that's really important. For me, in 2024, I can see that all this comes from the emotional trauma of losing a second child. He's not gone, he's not dead like my first child, but he's not in my life. He's not by my side. And so much of our relationship for the last 8 years has been about being together. I made massive changes in my life when I woke up to the reality of how ill I was to be able to be with my son. So my issue was traced back to this year. And the 12-year cycle in Chinese traditional medicine is God and the universe saying, okay, here's the same thing again. How are you going to deal with it this time? This time, I dealt with it in months. Last time, it took me 5 years. So I'm getting better. Am I an expert yet? No. And maybe in 12 years' time, it'll come again. And maybe I'll see the breadcrumbs immediately. But for most of my clients, and I'm sure for a lot of people watching this right now, the breadcrumbs go further back. Now, I've done that work going further back. But it goes back to childhood. What was that like when you were growing up? Did you grow up in a household where, as you lifted yourself out of your slumber in the morning and you swung your feet onto the bedroom floor, were you having to consider that you have to take the emotional weather in the house to navigate the adults or other siblings in the house that are going to cause you stress? Because if you did, then you were starting off in fight and flight from a very young age. And did you have emotionally dysregulated parents? Was mom or dad physically abusing you, mentally abusing you? Were they abusing themselves? Were they an addict? Alcohol, drugs, narcotics, gambling, sex, pornography, whatever. Did you witness that at a young age? Because if you did, then that gets buried into that traumatic brain. And what I learned, and especially living with samurai monks and on my own path, dealing with Joshua's death, was that we have to get right into the root of the problem. First of all, I have to say my son Joshua lived and died, and he is dead now. And I had to really visualize and spend time inside that trauma. And do this kindly and carefully and consider it to yourself. And seek support if you need it. But what I have learned is that everything I continue to avoid will continue to come after me. It's only when I decide to confront, to accept, and to understand and process do things change. So even now, if you're struggling with long COVID, is there a possibility that you can do some work on the historical parts of your life where you encountered trauma and pain and suffering? And that encounter allows you to create some sense of release. And that release starts to move the energy in the body. For me, when the energy stagnated and I had There's problems in my gut this year, and constipation, and then chronic mucus, and blocked nose, and blocked sinuses, and coughs, and all of these things coming from the gut because the pain of loss was there. And then everything stagnates. And then you have to work on the energy and you have to process it. So you're doing the physical work. You're making sure the diet is right. You're making sure the environment is right. You're putting all these things in. But then you also have to deal with the emotion. The emotion is like the potion for the soul. What's happening with me right now? How do I feel? Where is my emotional pain? What is unresolved? If I move towards that memory, does it make my body tighten and make me want to go this way? Take that as a sign that maybe you need to start going that way. So in the end, broken arm, broken rib after one day of skiing. But it was a fantastic day of skiing. So I'm very appreciative. I got to have a great day of skiing. But I also want to thank God and the universe for just giving me that extra punch in the head to say, get down, stay down, pay attention, and heal. And share. So, whatever resonates for you in this video, we've covered an awful lot in a short space of time. Please feel free to ask questions, put your comments below. If you'd like to get in touch with me, if you'd like to work with me, you can reach me at justincaffrey.com. But I really would like my pain, my suffering in 2024 to be of value to you in your life. I hope this resonates. If you haven't subscribed, please do. It means a lot. Please like as well, comment. I will get back to you. I wish you well. I wish you health. I wish you happiness. I wish you recovery. But I wish most of all that you are kinder and more forgiving to yourself and you allow yourself the time to heal. Think about nourishing the body. We're given this body. We have to take charge of it. We have to take care of it. We have to give it the right fuel. Put it in the right environment. Be out in nature. Make sure we're with the right people. Avoid the toxicity of thought. My name is Justin Caffrey. Thank you for being with me today. I do appreciate it.